In a quiet fire station in Livermore, California, there is a light bulb. It was screwed into the ceiling in 1901. It has been burning, almost continuously, for over 120 years. It was shining before the Titanic set sail. It was shining when man landed on the moon, and it is still shining today. Now, look at the smartphone in your hand. Or the LED bulb you bought for your kitchen last year that's already flickering. Or the printer that mysteriously stopped working the moment the warranty expired. You might think this is just bad luck. You might think it's just the price we pay for modern technology. You might tell yourself that things just don't last like they used to. But you would be wrong. This isn't an accident. And it certainly isn't bad luck. What you are experiencing is the result of a calculated mathematical formula designed to reach into your bank account and never let go. It is a system that was invented in a smoke-filled room in Geneva exactly 100 years ago. It is perhaps the only conspiracy theory in history that turned out to be completely, terrifyingly true. They called themselves the Phoebus Cartel. And while the men who sat at that table are long dead, their blueprint is currently running the entire global economy. There is a pattern in history that explains why you are working harder than ever, yet own less and less. And once you see the pattern, you will never look at your phone, your car, or your clothes the same way again. To understand why you are constantly replacing things you already own, we have to look at the fundamental flaw in the heart of capitalism. In a perfect world, a business would strive to make the best possible product. But in the real world, durability is a disaster. Think about it. If a company sells you a light bulb that lasts forever, like the one in Livermore, they never get to sell you a second one. If they sell you a car that never breaks down, their factories go silent. In the eyes of a corporation, a product that refuses to die is a parasite on their profits. Efficiency is the enemy of growth. In the early 20th century, this was becoming a massive problem. The Industrial Revolution had become too good at its job. Engineers were taking pride in building things that were indestructible. But the titans of industry realized they were digging their own graves. They were saturating the market with products that simply wouldn't break. They faced a choice: either stop growing or find a way to make their products worse. So they chose the latter. They didn't conspire to improve technology. They conspired to sabotage it. And on a cold winter day in 1924, the world's biggest competitors stopped fighting each other and started fighting you. It happened just before Christmas, 1924. The leaders of the world's premier lighting companies, Germany's Osram, the Netherlands' Philips, France's company Daylamps, and America's General Electric met secretly in Geneva, Switzerland. On the surface, they claimed they were standardizing the industry. But behind closed doors, they formed the Phoebus Cartel. Their goal was simple: to lower the quality of light bulbs worldwide. At the time, the average bulb lasted about 2,500 hours. The cartel decided this was unacceptable. They signed a formal agreement to cap the life of a bulb at exactly 1,000 hours. This wasn't a suggestion, it was a mandate. The cartel created a bureaucratic machine to enforce it. Manufacturers were forced to send their bulbs to Swiss laboratories for rigorous testing. But they weren't testing for quality, they were testing for fragility. If a company's bulbs lasted too long, if they were too efficient, the company was heavily fined. Imagine that. The world's top engineers were suddenly tasked with researching how to make filaments weaker, how to make glass more brittle. They spent millions of dollars figuring out how to break their own inventions. By 1925, the 1,000-hour bulb became the global standard. Sales skyrocketed. The cartel won. But the light bulb was just the beginning. The Great Depression accelerated this dark logic. As the global economy collapsed in the 1930s, a real estate broker named Bernard London proposed a radical idea to save America. In a famous paper, he argued that planned obsolescence should be mandatory by law. His logic was cold but compelling. If people keep using old cars, old radios, and old clothes, factories close, and workers starve. To save the economy, he argued, we must legally destroy the old to make room for the new. While the government never made it a law, corporations adopted it as a religion. The automotive industry was next. In the 1920s, Henry Ford was selling the Model T car designed to be easily repaired and last a lifetime. But General Motors had a different idea. They introduced the annual model change. They didn't make the engine better. They just changed the colors, the fins, and the shape of the headlights every single year. The car didn't run any better, it just looked newer. GM had weaponized social psychology. Suddenly, if you drove last year's model, you looked poor. You looked behind the times. GM didn't just break the machine. They broke the consumer's ego. They realized that selling trash was infinitely more profitable than selling treasure. And that philosophy has become the operating system of the modern world. The Phoebus Cartel eventually dissolved as World War II began, but they left behind a playbook that every major industry follows today. When we analyze the rise and fall of products, we see the same four-stage cycle repeating over and over again. Stage 1 is the quality trap. A company enters the market with a superior, durable product to build a reputation. Think of the early Mercedes-Benz engines that ran for 1,000,000 miles. Or the original Nokia phones that could survive a fall from a building. They hook you with quality. They build trust. But then comes stage 2, market saturation. Eventually, everyone has the product. Sales flatten out. The company faces a revenue cliff. Investors panic. They need growth, but the market is full. This triggers stage 3, engineered fragility. This is the Phoebus moment. The company silently alters the design. They replace metal gears with plastic ones. They use glue instead of screws so you can't open the device. They calibrate the battery to degrade. The goal is to set the failure point to just weeks after the warranty expires. Finally, we hit stage 4, psychological obsolescence. Even if the product still works, they make you hate it. They change the charging port shape. They stop releasing software updates. They make the old version look ugly compared to the new one. They manipulate your desire for novelty to make you throw away perfectly functional tools. The cartel didn't just change the light bulb. They changed how we value objects. They turned goods into consumables. And right now, in the 21st century, we are trapped in the most aggressive version of this cycle history has ever seen. If you think this conspiracy died in the 1930s, take a hard look at the tech industry today. In 2017, the conspiracy became fact once again. Apple admitted to slowing down older iPhones via software updates. They claimed it was to protect the battery, but the effect on the consumer was identical to the Phoebus Cartel's 1,000-hour rule. Millions of people felt their devices lagging, assumed they were broken, and rushed to buy the new model. Or look at your printer. Inkjet cartridges are often equipped with microchips that signal the printer to stop working when the ink is empty. But independent tests have shown these cartridges often still have up to 30% of their ink remaining. The chip is lying to you. Some printers are even programmed to die after a specific number of pages are printed, purely due to software code, even if the mechanics are perfect. This is the Phoebus Fine system, digitized. It's happening in your closet too. The fast fashion industry brands like Shine, H&M, and Zara produce billions of garments designed to lose their shape after 5 washes. They aren't selling clothes. They're selling disposable fabric wrappers. But we are now entering a new, more dangerous phase. We are moving from planned obsolescence to the death of ownership. Farmers in America are currently fighting a war against John Deere. Modern tractors are locked down with software that prevents the farmers from repairing their own equipment. If a sensor breaks, the tractor shuts down until a certified dealer comes to unlock it for a massive fee. Tesla has experimented with features that are locked behind software paywalls. features that can be removed if the car is resold. You pay full price for the hardware, but you are effectively just a tenant, renting the device from the manufacturer. The Phoebus Cartel controlled the light. Big Tech controls the switch, and they are preparing to turn it off whenever you stop paying. The consequences of this cycle are hitting us from two sides, and both are devastating. First, there is the financial hemorrhage. You are running on a hamster wheel. The middle-class squeeze isn't just about stagnant wages or inflation. It's about the fact that you have to rebuy your entire life every 5 years. You are working thousands of hours to pay for things that are programmed to turn into dust. You are being drained by a subscription model applied to physical reality. Second, there is the ecological catastrophe. We are drowning in the debris of this business model. If you travel to Agbogbloshie in Ghana, you will see the graveyards of the Phoebus legacy. Mountains of burning electronics, toxic smoke rising into the air, discarded phones, laptops and appliances that were designed to fail. We are extracting finite resources from the earth at a record pace, processing them, and then burying them in a hole a few years later. It is a suicide pact disguised as an economy. When empires fall, it is often because they exhaust their resources and destroy their own foundations. We are currently building a civilization on trash. If this pattern continues, we move toward a world where repair is illegal. Ownership is a myth, and you are permanently subscribed to your own existence. But let's go back to that fire station in Livermore. The Centennial light is still burning. It glows dimly, but it glows. It serves as a silent, stubborn protest against the modern economy. It proves that we can build a sustainable world. We have the technology. We have the materials. We just don't have the business model. The Phoebus Cartel proved that companies will conspire to make you poorer. But today, the secret is out. The rise of the right to repair movement is the first crack in their armor. Governments are starting to demand durability ratings. But the biggest change has to come from us. We have to stop rewarding the cycle of waste. We have to value the things that last and reject the things that don't. History is a circle. The cartel turned off the lights on durability. It's time we turn them back on. If you want to understand the hidden mechanisms controlling your money and your future, make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you in the next Rewind.